actually change this. Okay, there we go. Notice if I actually had it set to announce the proper number of streams. Okay. Let's see, how's the volume on everything? Audio mixer. It's going all right. Gain isn't too bad. Okay. How's this going? Yep, okay. So, sorry for starting a little late this time. I had some friends over, so preoccupied. Today, if I can find the proper piece from scrap, maybe. I'd like to show you how I made one of my pieces, which like to show you is how I made the helmet. And with the helmet, I will be able to do different designs on it. Let's see. Oh, is there a way to make that change? Okay, let's just do that. And nope, those are being of use at the moment. So let's see if I can do it through here. Settings. Output. Okay. I'll have to try and see if we can figure that out later. But for now, we just go with this. But the objective is to recreate how I made the helmet here, which is about the same width as this, however, it's wider. So, let's see, width. pretty close. Can be slightly different in size. So that's how I utilize this jump pad. So I think I used one of these to make it. That's almost exactly what I would need. Actually, I'll use this one. Alright. So first start off by taking a chunk, and it's what you're looking for is since I'm going for the same shape as this one, I went for the same thickness. So you're going to try and make a rounder block of what you need to carve away in order to make the helmet shape. Okay. Okay, so I have my slightly rounded block at the top. Now, you know the back is going to be rounded for the shape of your head, but if you want it to be pointed, that's where you would make sure to carve away the proper amount. You have the width of the neck that'll be at the bottom, and you want this to be slightly larger than your normal neck would be, so that way it can protect. And then I like the way that this helmet comes inward on the sides to have a nice little visor, cheek protection type thing. Interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to curve off this back side over here to make the rounded part of the head, and then I will make where the neck will be. So this is going to be the back curve, and then that'll be where I'm going to decide on how I want the back neck or back part where the neck will be. So since this is going to be the end of it, I can gauge where the neck is going to be about, and then go a little bit forward. That. So that way I can have that forward slant that's here. Yep, be right about there. Okay, and then I'm going to have it curve down at more of a flat angle when it gets to the front. There we go. So now I have my shape of how I'm going to be having the front visor part be here, back of the head, and then the center part. So I can start by rounding it off, taking off that edge, as usual. To round it so that way it's nice and smooth. nice and partially rounded. Do a little bit more over on this side, but once it's mostly rounded, you can start working on other small details, such as how far do you want the front visor to come. This will be coming to about right there, then it'll cut in, much like I have this one cut in there. There you go. So where you see where it cuts in, that's what I'm aiming for here. Right about there. So now it's got the nice cut into it, so that will be where the top of the head protection, so then they can see through this section, and then these will be the cheek protectors, which you can get the framework of by cutting at a slight angle. There we go. So now, I'm not sure how well you can see it. Very little light coming over there, but it's still pretty bright. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see, made it a little bit darker on the stream, but might have other ways to compensate for that. Okay, so it's got a nice work it there. And yeah, I'll need to adjust that slightly. There we go. That's some nice faded light now. See it a little bit better. Alright, so let's continue carving away here. Now, I like the parts where it's going to be the cheeks to have a defined line at the edges. I don't want them to be rounded off because it's supposed to look like it was bent inward. Make sure that was there. Now, this is a little bit tall of a helmet for me, so I'm going to be cutting off the bottom portion. And I'm going to show you guys something else that I've done a few times. So when making a helmet, it's starting to look pretty much like a motorcycle helmet, or a BMX helmet. I always cut the back section where the nape of your neck would be slightly at an angle, just to give it this nice downward curve there. And then when I actually hollow this out, I will have a curve in this back section, so that way the whoever it was that is wearing this can look up. Because if you have it to where it's just straight down, it would hit the back of your head and you wouldn't be able to look up. So by giving that little small bit, you can actually go from let's see, like straight to being able to just look up a little bit and make a big difference. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making sure all of the cover along the edges down here where the side of the necks would be. I also curve it in a little bit, just so that way it looks a little bit better. At least that's my opinion. It looks better that way. Yeah. So now that I have this going here, I'm going to try and hollow it out because I actually like how I have it rounded now. I'm going to try and make the cheek plates. So I'm going to cut at an angle, thickness where I want it to be, and then cut backwards where you want the thickness of the helmet to be. So you can just leave that incision there for now, because then you're going to do the other side right about the same. Go as far as you want it and then go back along the thickness, and you're making sure to try and stay along this line right here, so that way it doesn't go too far up when you're cutting all the way back, because then you're going to go about the same depth going along the back of where the neck will be. I'm going to slice in to about the same width or depth where the other two are, and then you should be able to tell if they're connected. If they're not, just try to. Those are connected, and you can peel it back to see kind of like how a predator mouth would be. Now, I'm going to cut along the center point here to connect all the way to the back part to remove this entire little rectangle, which you can actually do easiest by sliding it down one of your pre-made cuts and then just forcing your box cutter or X-Acto knife or whatever 90 degrees sideways. And just tiny saw motions to cut through styrofoam. And then once it's almost all the way through, you should be able to remove a small chunk. I've got this little point for the piece. Yeah. So now you have the main intersection of where the head will be. Now you just need to hollow this out, trying to make sure to keep about the same thickness going all the way around, and then just put whatever additional decorations you want. Now at the back of the neck here, like I said, I'm going to cut a curve out, which start by doing a V. It's easy enough. And the reason why I do that, and a terrible curve, I can clean it up though with the scissors. Good enough. For now at least. And then, so you have this little curved part right there. that's where your neck would actually kink into if you lifted it up further than you would originally need. And if you're using a box cutter, it's one of the benefits of being able to adjust it and then lock it into place lightly. You can actually just make sure you don't go past a certain point when you are carving out in depth. Because now should just be able to remove this. Now the back of the neck area is complete for the inside. I just gotta work my way up to the part where the dome goes. I need to thin this section out right here just a little bit. Thin this section out just a little bit. Now the inside's mostly hollowed out. Just gotta do a couple more smaller points. Okay. I can cut this bit out just a little bit more. Okay, so now we have the helmet that you can attach additional things to. You can shorten it up, squish it, pretty much do whatever you really want to in order to make it your own. And now I am going to utilize the little scissors to put some finer details because it's not all completely symmetrical. Okay. So that is your basic helmet. Make sure to smooth up some of the edges. Make sure the curves are to my liking. And then make sure the hollowed out section is actually pretty good. So with that, delete those there. A little bit longer. Okay, so I go all the way over there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this corner and I'm going to make an attachable part for that. I showed in last week's video how to make some spikes. Yeah, okay. So now, as per last week doing this, I have it set to where I can curve it all the way to the very back, all the way up to the front, and a little bit overlapping. So I actually want to curve that into a little spike, which I can do. Just like that. Okay. So I'll start it by connecting the back to the base of the neck area, and then going all the way top here. However, I don't want it to be smooth ridge like that. I'm going to make it spikes by cutting angled slices all the way, not all the way through, but all the way along this. And then when I curve it, it'll separate those spikes due to the way that it wants to. Surface tension. Now I'm just estimating distancing, but you can obviously measure this out if you want to give it proper length, like uniform or even scaling number of spikes. And then on this last one, I'm just going to cut it off at that angle, so that way when it's attached to the back of the neck here, it'll smooth up from the back of the neck. And let's see if we can show you how this is going to work out. So holding it where it will connect, and there we go. So it's going to be a less pronounced helmet than my original one, which I was thinking berserker Viking style, but this could be any sort of adventure person or soldier. Just, or heck, you can even make it into the motorcycle helmet that was always meant to be. And now that I'm looking at it more, or straight on, I can see that they're squared off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take scissors to them once I attach it and actually smooth them out, and that should make them more pronounced than just the rectangular spikes that they are. But you might like that, so if that's what you prefer, have at it. I'm going to use the ever trusted Dollar Tree crazy glue. Okay, going to attach it, run it along and try and keep it centered. I was not thinking about ways to secure this, so I'm going to have to hold it whilst it dries for the most part at least. Shouldn't take too long. And I just like to, when the crazy glue is still setting, like to constantly give it a little extra pressure to it. I wouldn't recommend putting so much pressure that it completely flattens it all, like crushing it together, because then that'll affect the spikes that you wanted. Okay. And if you want the spikes to show up a little bit more, you can just run your fingers backwards along them, and it peels them away from themselves. So then you have a little bit more prominent spaces. Like I said, I'm going to snip them to make them more prominent as actual pointed spikes instead of these rectangle things that I've somehow made. Okay, so it's not really too much that I'm doing, but if you can see, the front ones here all look like fine spikes, whereas the back ones are blocky. So what I'm doing is the part that is almost touching the previous spike here, I'm cutting at an angle to just make that a more free open section. Super tiny details that you would think wouldn't make biggest things, but when you actually put them on the decoration object that you're looking for, you can see them plainly. Well, right now I am currently making a helmet. First I showed how to make the basic shape of it. This is the template. And then this one, I've added on a ridge of spikes to it. And there's the spike up top too. So right now I'm currently just trying to shore up the spikes. Thank you, I appreciate that. To make it more pronounced V's in between each of the spikes, because otherwise they would just almost look like tire tread rather than spikes. But if you're trying to make a BMX helmet, that might be what you're looking for. Side's a little bit bigger than this side. Okay, so this is the helmet that I've made, just very simply. And if you were going to paint it, you can add some crazy designs on the sides. Notice that's very not well curved. There we go, much better. This side just a little bit needs to be taken off. Okay. And there we go. Got the spikes, and again, to make the spikes more prominent, you can pull them backwards. And then you got a nice spiky helmet. So this is based off of this one. And I just like the face cheeks. Not all of them have it, and some of them have the plus sign rather than the I don't know, funnel sign, funnel shape. And then this one, I gave a downward spike through it as well. So like, if you wanted to go super creative with this, you can keep this section right here from like this part to there as a smooth piece, add some tiny spikes coming out from the sides of that, and then along these spike ridges you can paint on wings holding on to the side of the helmet, so you can have a little dragon riding your helmet. And it would be his head as the front spikes here, and then his ridge line would be here with his wings coming down. So that's that. Let's see, what else? Got about 15 or so minutes. Clean this up real fast. Yeah, okay. So let's see about making a I don't know, something like this, something tiny. I always go for a basic pillar, or you know, let's try to make a weapon. Yeah, let's make a weapon. So I'm going to actually need a sliver of this, so let's see if I happen to have another piece that's already a sliver. Whoa, that is like one of the most basic pillars I have ever made. There's chunks. Let's see. No, I guess not. I don't know about the size I'm looking for anyways. Okay, so I'll keep with this then. Now, what we're going to make, an attempt to make at least, is a sword. But I can actually make a few weapons because weapons are not super thick. So I will start with this thickness. So I'm going to begin by making where the handle should be. Now, if this is going to be held by a person or a miniature, a normal miniature is less than 2 inches tall. Yeah, actually less than 2.5 inches tall on average, because 1 inch is 5 foot square. So on average, it will take up a 5 foot square. So if you're going to be making an actual weapon to be held by a miniature, you only need a 1 inch square to start carving down into a weapon. However, I'm going to make a slightly bigger one, so that way it's easier to see. So I'm going to cut along where I am going to make the hilt and handle, and I'm going to carve it into this nice little arch thing there. So there. So that's what I'm starting with, and I will adjust it from there. Now I'm going to have it come in a good bit, there. So there. So really all I've done is I went cut out where the hilt should be. I'm cutting at a slight angle to just keep shaving down until it gets thinner and thinner to where I'm wanting it to be in that. And then going up the center point, trying to find where you want the tip, start making the angle for the very tip, and then I'll actually carve out in a little bit more. Because I want this to be along the lines of a long sword, but I want it to be like a flowing needle type spike long sword. I want to kind of have this shape. Okay. Now that I have the points that I'm going to be using and then where the positioning of the hilt is, I'm going to flatten it out so that way it can start looking more like a blade with a rounded handle. Now when you're doing this, understand that the more you take away from the blade, the flimsier it's going to be. And with styrofoam, that's kind of what you're going to want to. But understand that if you add on paint, it'll increase its rigidness. To make it round on the hilt by cutting off the edges like I normally do. Okay. And that is what I have made for a tiny little sword. Really didn't this part up just a little bit. Yeah, honestly, it kind of looks like it should be from like those games like Fantasy Star Online or something like that. Alright. So, there is the little sword that I have made. When I think about it, it's actually a pretty wicked arrowhead too. It's not coming out very easily if it goes in. Yeah, okay. I've got a couple of minutes here that I normally do. So, let me just showcase what I've done a little bit. These are just some experiments that didn't turn out like this, but you know, I'm gonna trial and error somehow. I'm thinking I might be able to use them in each project. So, this is what could be a long table, or like some table that would have a lot of alchemy potions on it or something like that. And it's just a rectangle similar to this, that all I did was I cut out this section very easily just by going down, and then connecting it all the way across. Very simple. And this is such a prototype, I didn't even finish off the edges. So it's just whatever that is. And then this, I tried to make a square bit, which, you know, it turned out alright, I guess. But with this one, I cut along here on all four of these, then went down them and cut sideways, went down them and cut sideways, which is why this section right here is a little off, because this is again just a prototype to see how it'll work out. So, you know, but even something like this is fairly simple, but it can be used as a little stand for another character, like your helmet, and especially if you paint it so it's a different color aside from what I have. Yeah. So, you know, you can showcase what you got, or just raise its level. I made a pedestal. Ta-da! New helmet on a pedestal. You even have it like, if you do stuff like this and you use this as the physical representation of a magic item for your D&D group or whatever you want to be using it for, by having them like reveal this at the very end, like you could have this underneath an opaque cup or something like that, and when they actually get to the room, you can boom, pull this up and reveal the magnificence of the helmet that you've crafted, and then give them a physical representation of what they should be seeing, rather than just describing it. So yeah, with these, and then the experiments with the pillar, you can have a ton of these easily pumped out, because that's just carving away at a rectangle until it's smoother in the center section here. Line the whole area up with them if you want, or like I said, you can use it as a pedestal to show off something you've made. So with that, These are past projects over here. So today I showed you all how I made the helmet with the spike line. That last week I described how to make the spike line. So I showed you practical purpose, so you can actually recreate the helmet, where I just did it about the width of my thumb the first time, and that is how it ended up being where it is now. And then I just did a small sword, which could also be an arrowhead, depending on if you want to do it like that. As today's is the helmet with the spike line, then the sword. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.